and welcome to this week's edition of the Side Splitters. My name is Lyle.
And my name is, as usual, Andy.
As usual, as if we've been here every week. And our goal tonight is to leave you in stitches, because who knows when the last time we did it was, and who knows when the next time we'll do it is.
Right, we're at that perfect kind of flux where we're like, well, we're present, but are we in the present?
I don't even know when this will be released, or if it will get released, like the Thanksgiving episode.
Yeah, well, actually, we're doing a very limited run on Betamax, so, all those people who invested in vintage nostalgic equipment, hey, this podcast is for you.
There you go. Lower the pitchforks, lower the torches, stop calling us out on your podcast. Looking at you guys count down to Geek Town. I heard it. That was funny. It made me laugh, but still, stop it. Stop making the my favorite monthly podcast comments on Facebook. We're back. We're going to try to be weekly.
And there's no such thing as bad press.
In the event something comes up, we just want to let everyone know that there's a possibility it might not be every week for the next couple of weeks. I think right now the main focus is Andy with his house buying thing and me getting the Christmas play and all that shit together. Once everything's taken care of and all that, then I'll be happy. So
yeah, life first.
Yeah, if for some reason, like, next week we miss an episode or whatever, I know it sucks, guys, but there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
We promise, no matter what, this is not the end of the podcast. Right, Andy? Jesus!
I wanted to see what you would say. Because you gotta understand, folks, like, Lyle has been extremely paranoid about this. Like, I'm just gonna, drop the floor out from under him at any minute. He'd be like, yeah, remember how I haven't been around for a while? I want to keep it that way.
I'm a little sensitive, alright? It's already happened once to me.
Right? It's like, I'm that date that just, shows up and, he makes a home-cooked meal and I eat every last bit of it before dropping the fork and tell him, we need to talk.
Yeah, and emphasis on every last bit, too, because I only made it to episode 8 last time. Here we are in episode 59 and a half, because we technically already did a 59.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
And, if you drop the floor out on me now, oh, God, I don't know what I could do. That might be the Sudoku of my podcasting career.
Wow. That's heavy, man.
Either that or we're launching the Fried Splitters website. So...
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a typical episode. No Fresco tonight. I didn't want to bother him with this weekly hit or miss thing. Plus, it is super late right now, way later than we usually run it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just a matter of, let's just do it, get it over with, and make sure that it's done this week. Hopefully, we could be a little bit more mindful of our time next week. And that's all I'll say. And hopefully we'll get an episode out next week. I'm in high spirits for it, and what a show we have for you today. We have our regular clickbait news, This Week in Gaming History, which has been a running segment so far. This is the third time we'll be doing it. Whether or not you guys heard the second time, whole nother story. But this is technically the third time we'll be doing it. God, what a week that was, too. The launch of the Super Nintendo, so many games to come with it and everything.
Lots of memories attached to it.
And we just, it was such a good episode. I'm so sorry, guys. Anyway. And then, of course, we'll finish with football stuff, and we'll name the episode and get out of here. So let's get started on clickbait news. Naturally, it's been too long. I had to have at least 2 Florida stories. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the...
Well, wait, if we have 3 stories, and 2 of them are Florida stories, so I got the balls. So which location is the story to penis?
Ireland.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Well, I'll let you decide where you want to go first.
The shaft, man. Always start with the shaft.
Okay, fair enough. This is actually a pretty good one. I was going to save it for last, but we'll go first.
Okay.
So, Andy, I need you to tell me where, in Ireland, not where, sorry. Why have the villagers in Ireland, in an Irish village, been complaining?
Oh, because their potato rations are sweet potatoes.
Ooh. Ew. Nothing like an episode of Side Splitters with stereotypes. Irish villagers complain Viagra plant fumes have men and dogs walking around with hard-ons.
That was gonna be legitimately my third guess.
Yeah, I believe you. So, residents of
And
a
dogs?
that's what it says, man. Residents of a tiny Irish village where Viagra is manufactured have complained that fumes, blah blah blah. Pharmaceutical firm, how is this pronounced? P Pfizer or is it just Pfizer?
Spell it?
It's the pharmaceutical firm for Viagra. Pfizer.
Pfizer.
Is it just Pfizer? Okay. Pfizer have produced the erectile dysfunction drug in Ringaskiddy, County Cork.
Ringaskiddy?
Ringaskiddy, County Cork for the last 2 decades.
Okay.
Villagers claim that Ringaskiddy's proximity to the plant and its love fumes have been giving local men and even their canine friends enormous sexual powers. Uh, bar- uh,
Was he bitten by a radioactive dildo?
Barmaid Debbie O'Grady told the Sunday Times, "One whiff and you're stiff." We've been getting.
Of course.
We've
Of
been-
course they said that.
We've been getting the love fumes for years now for free. Miss O'Grady's mother, Sadie, said that living in Ringaskiddy is a blessing for men who suffer, quote, problems in that department, adding that there is, quote, something in the air. The widower added, "I'm a flirtatious woman, just one. A lot of us are. You have to have a spark, that's all. There's a lovely man waiting down the road for me." Pfizer said in a statement that the stiff whiff has nothing more than an amusing myth. Was nothing more than an amusing myth, but there were no hard feelings. Our manufacturing processes have always been highly sophisticated as well as highly regulated, they said. Nevertheless, residents remain scared stiff that something more sinister is going on. Psychiatric nurse Fiona Tomei, who recently returned to the village after 5 years in America, said that local dogs, quote, walk around in a state of sexual excitement. "I think that Viagra must have gotten into their water supply," she said. "I'm convinced that's what happened at the very beginning before they were so closely regulated." So that's all I have to report on that.
Man, alright, so imagine being a doctor in that town because, like, you know how they say you're supposed to contact a doctor if after 4 hours it hasn't gone away, but if you're like, doctor, I've had this boner for at least 6 months.
Nothing like a return with an Andy Irish accent. That's how you make a comeback, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's just I seen that one and I was just like, oh my god, this is so great. Which is great because like, okay, so you're at a bar and you're drinking, and what if you're just at a bar like celebrating with a couple of guys, and one of them was like always kind of closet and had a crush on you, but would never say anything, you know? Next thing you know, you're drinking, you're having a good time. He looks down, sees something happening in your pants, and goes, "I've been waiting for years to tell you this. I'm so happy you feel the same way."
See, you went the totally different direction than I did because I was thinking about how many wet chins there are at the urinals.
Oh, you. All right, next story. Yeah, let's go. Oh, man. I just noticed that all three of these are kind of animal related.
Huh.
Let's go with this one next. So, can you tell me, what 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 did the owners of a liquor store find in Florida?
Well, you did say they're kind of animal related, so I'm gonna say that they found a drunk squirrel.
Oh my God, you're so damn close. Florida possum breaks into liquor store and gets drunk on. Bonus points if you can tell me what he got drunk on.
Crown Royal.
No, bourbon. Got drunk on bourbon.
Damn.
Close. Still brown liquor, right?
Yeah.
When she came through, she knocked a bottle of liquor off the shelf, said the store's owner. When she got down on the floor, she drank the whole damn bottle. A possum that apparently, I don't know where the wildly thing came in from, I'm just making that up. A possum that apparently drank bourbon after breaking into a Florida liquor store sobered up at a wildlife, oh there it is, rescue center and was released unharmed. Emerald Coast Wildlife Refugee officials say the possum was brought in by a Fort Walton Beach, Florida police officer on November 24th. A liquor store employee found the animal next to a broken and empty bottle of bourbon. I realize I said November 24th. You have to understand something. Instead of looking for things from the past week, I decided to look for things for the past couple of weeks since we haven't had an episode. So bear with me.
Okay.
I usually like to go in the recent week, but anyway. A worker there found the possum up on a shelf next to a cracked open bottle of liquor with nothing in it, said a technician at the refugee, Michelle Pettis. She definitely wasn't fully acting normal. Pettis told
No figure.
Pettis told the Panama City News Herald the female possum appeared disoriented, was excessively salivating, and was pale. The staff pumped the marsupial full of fluids and cared for her as she sobered up. We loaded her up with fluids to help flush out any alcohol toxins. She was good a couple days later, Pettis said. The possum did not appear to have a hangover. The store owner, Cash Moore, that's hysterical, says he never had a possum break in before. She came in the outside and was up in the rafters and came in from the outside and was up in the, no, where else could she have came in from? Was up in the rafters, and when she came through, she knocked a bottle of liquor off the shelf. When she got down, she drank the whole damn bottle, but it just goes to show that even the animals are impressed with Cassius, he said. The animal was released on Thursday. That's great. Like, not only is his name Cash Moore, but he has to, make sure that, hey, this is my liquor store, and it's so great that even the animals are drinking it. Come buy liquor from me.
Like, I don't know how much, the possum had to be pretty drunk, because normally possums play dead. And if you could tell that it's been drinking for a while, then it's like, I can't tell if it's playing drunk because it's not good at playing dead, or it's really good at being drunk. Like, I don't know. And the whole thing coming in from the outside, well, duh. Like, what? It's gonna teleport in. This possum was on its way to Mars, but got sidetracked because it wanted bourbon. I guess, I don't know. It's so weird.
Yeah, it was. That is a weird thing, and you make a good point with the playing possum thing. It's just
right.
That's funny. All right, last story from Florida. I need you to tell me what the Florida man was doing on strangers' roofs.
On strangers' roofs?
Yes.
Pretending to be a rooster.
Oh God! Once again, I might even. Florida man high on meth climbs onto stranger's roof to howl. Police say.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's not quite a cock-a-doodle-doo, but it's close.
Cock-a-doodle-don't.
A family woke up earlier than planned on Veterans Day to find a man high on meth on their rooftop, news reports say. The Vero Beach father called Indian River Sheriff's deputies to report that at around 6 a.m., he and his sons heard someone stomping on their roof, yelling and howling. When deputies arrived, they encountered 31-year-old Jacob Johnson Futch. Futch of...
That's a great name.
Futch of Vero Beach told them that he was up there waiting to meet with an agent from the Drug Enforcement Agency. When asked if he was on any drugs, he admitted that he took meth around 2 a.m. He was charged with trespassing and booked into the Indian River County Jail. His occupation in the jail log is listed as a stock boy. I don't know why that's necessary to tell us, but sure, I'll take it.
Sure, why not?
I have to show you a picture of Mr. Futch.
I would love to see a picture of Mr. Futch.
You say that now. Look at this handsome guy.
Although I kind of laugh how candid he was. No, that is not the face of a man on meth. That is a face of a hand-drawn cartoon.
Here's the thing, though. It does explain why he was on the roof. Quasimodo was looking for the bell.
I don't. Wow.
He even
Just
has like a bit
wow.
of a hunchback and everything in this picture, like over to the left one. Yeah, he is just hideous.
I love how candid he was though. It's like, are you currently on any drugs? It's like, well, I haven't had anything since that dose of meth at 2.
Yeah.
I was thinking about enjoying a Coke ball at around 6, but then I thought, nah.
I love how you did it exactly how I would have done it. Like, clearly this guy is a meth head. He's on someone's roof and he's howling. But when we go to portray him, he's as sophisticated as possible. Not to mention he looks like Quasimodo.
Yeah, like, you would not get that out of there. Just like...
For the listeners at home, since this is an audio podcast, imagine meth... meth? I don't know. Quasimodo on meth. Imagine Quasimodo on meth speaking sophisticated.
Methamoto, if you will.
Yes, Quasimetho. Oh, God.
Fantastic.
The hunchback of Notre Dame, he needs to stop doing drugs. Oh, he is hideous. Okay, the teeth are just so far apart from one another. All right.
Yeah, they're like Steve Buscemi's.
Crazy eyes. All right, well, that's clickbait news. Now on to the next segment that we have recently started called This Week in Gaming History, and we won't take very long here, but there's a couple of notable things I wanted to make sure I pointed out this particular week in history. So, without further ado, we'll get right into it. First off, we'll start back on the 3rd of December. Now, I've decided to make this as a go-ahead rule here. It's going to be starting from the Sunday before the podcast is released up until the Saturday after it's released. Seem fair?
Okay.
Yeah, so it goes Sunday to Saturday of that week.
Okay. No, that's fine.
So, December 3rd, I'm going to take a drink of water here because, my God, I am parched.
Sure you don't want any meth?
No, I'm all set.
Okay.
So on December 3rd, we'll start with 1994. Granted, it was in Japan, but it was the first place that it was released, and I am talking about the PlayStation 1. The first Sony PlayStation was released in Japan.
Revolutionary.
Yeah, absolutely. On December 3rd, 1994. The first, wasn't the first gaming console, but the first big competitive gaming console that used CDs.
Yeah, and it was also the marking of another company kind of throwing their hat into the ring.
Yep.
It'd be like, oh well, if Nintendo can do it and Genesis can do it, Sega, and Sony's coming out of nowhere going, hey wait, we make TVs, we know how this works.
We make TVs, and what else do we make? Stereos.
Yeah. Like, audio stuff, I don't know, but that's actually kind of what I liked about, like, I don't know if you use this feature as much as I did, but playing the original PlayStation, so I remember fondly of playing like the original Twisted Metal. Mm-hmm. And what I would do is, while the game is going, open the lid, take out the game, and then put on an audio CD. And then the game would still play, but it would also start playing the tracks off the audio CD.
So, absolutely I did that. And it was because of the option to do that it actually was able to be modified to play quote-unquote imported disc, or in my case, pirated discs.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this thing called a mod chip that went to a PlayStation, and it was a little piece that you put right into the back of it. And what it would do is it would make it so that it would get rid of the thing that checked for licensing. So all of a sudden you were allowed to play games, say for example, from Japan. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, there are games from Japan that you could play that didn't get released in the U.S. More importantly, it also stopped checking for piracy problems. So what would happen is you would use that feature on the PlayStation. You would start the game up. Any real game can be put to the PlayStation. You would start it up, and it would boot up in a different menu than what it would usually boot up into. And it would spin, and then it would stop spinning. You take the disc out, and you put in the pirated copy of whatever game, and you put that in, and you hit start game, and it just boots into normal like nothing ever happened, and you are suddenly playing this, pirated copy of whatever, Crash Bandicoot, Tomb Raider, whatever, Metal Gear Solid, just to name a few. Um, but yeah, it was awesome, and what a library of games it had. Before going too far into that, though, we have to move on to the next thing that was released on the same day, 7 years later in 2001, which is Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Melee.
Melee. I don't know why I want to say that so much.
Who's getting all fancy now?
Yeah, but Super Smash Bros. #2, pretty much, the GameCube version came out 2001, December 3rd. Huge game. Obviously not as huge as the first. Well, arguably the best one in the series.
Yeah, I still have a lot of fond memories of it. I still have it as one of the few GameCube games that I still own, and I remember, man, when that thing came out, I remember going out to like different places, like GameStops or Toys R Us's or pretty much anywhere else that had like kiosks set up, and that was always the game in the GameCube kiosk, and there would be people literally huddled around the kiosk doing matches, even if you could only play like 4 characters in the entire roster, like it didn't matter. Like, people would still be throwing down in match after match after match in this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think this is around the time where we started losing the idea of an arcade. So arcades started to not exist anymore, slowly and slowly. So you see something like this come along, it's set up, not to mention it's free as a promotional item. Yeah, people are gonna throw it out there, like you said. So what an awesome game to be released at the time. It was just lots of fun. I personally can't stand that series. I think it is a disgrace on fighting games, and oh yeah. I like it as a fun party game, but what ruined it for me was the people that took it way too serious. The people that go, oh, play me on this map, so there's no final destination, just flat land, no obstacles, no items, nothing, just 1v1, this map, no fun allowed. Go. Okay, buddy, you showed me your skills. Boy, did you know how to deflect everything with Fox better than I did. Good for you. Like, it's just, no, I'm sorry. That's not why I play this game. I play this game so you can have as many people on the screen at once. You can have Pikachu going against Samus from Metroid, which is absolutely absurd. And you can throw a Pokeball at Mario with Kirby before sucking in Link and taking his power and eating, Raspberry Pi or whatever it is they have. And, like, it's just completely random and ridiculous, all while a giant dog is covering your screen. That's what I liked about the game, and people just threw that away and had to get competitive with it, which is fine, but it just made too many people do it, and it kind of ruined the experience for me. But anyway, that's December 3rd. Moving on. December 8th is the next day I have. We only have 2 days this week for notable releases. So December 8th, I got a few. I'm just going to run through them kind of quickly. So The Lion King for Sega Genesis. This game I put on this list because I liked this game as a kid a lot. It was one of the few movie adaptations that were great. Disney did great at that back in the 16-bit days.
Oh yeah, Aladdin, man, I loved Aladdin.
Absolutely, Aladdin was great. Lion King was great. I'm sure there was other ones that I can't think of at the moment. But Lion King was great. It was super difficult. That's one of the things that everyone remembers about it, especially the one giraffe stage. So I had to mention that. Another game was Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero in 1997. This was neat because it was a single-player adventure game in the world of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, it really fleshed out the atmosphere a little bit more for the games. People that were having more questions about, what exactly is the story for this game? And, it kind of give you a peek inside the NetherRealm just to get an idea of what goes on in that environment.
And a lot of people down-talk this game, but I loved it as a kid. I thought it was so neat that you were playing as Sub-Zero in a completely different type of game. And here you had these moves that you remember from the game that you can only get from leveling up and unlocking, and then boss battles were other characters in the Mortal Kombat games. So it was, I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. The platforming was a little janky, and it was kind of sketchy at times with stuff like that. Like looking at it from a gamer going into it having no knowledge of the world of Mortal Kombat, I can see where it was annoying and frustrating and things like that. But just from a fan of the series going into it, going, "Oh, this is so neat! Look what he's doing now!" That was what was fun for me.
Yeah, it was way better than Special Forces.
Oh God, we don't talk about Special Forces. So then, 1988, December 8th as well. This is the last one I have. It was in Japan, but it was important to the side splitters. Ninja Gaiden. This was the game that I quote unquote speed ran on the 1 year anniversary stream wearing Fresco's glasses. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. So that came out. And then other than that, the other thing I have is today, actually, December 6th, the day that we're recording this, is, Satoru Iwata's birthday. And if you don't know, Iwata was a game developer in the 80s. He came up, eventually started working for the HAL Corporation, was it? And
Yes.
helped develop games such as Earthbound, Kirby, eventually became president of the HAL Corporation and helped develop games such as Pokemon and the aforementioned Super Smash Brothers. Even went on to become the president of Nintendo and helped work on consoles and handhelds like the DS and the Wii and even the Switch, which was kind of cool and obviously is doing wonderful now. So definitely something I wanted to make mention of was him. He was cool, and he was definitely became the face of the company in later years. But old age takes its toll.
Yes, it
And
does.
that's what I have for this week in gaming history. God, I do have something mentioned here, okay? And I have to bring it up.
Okay.
Because if for some reason we don't get to record next week, there is something that happened in gaming history next week that has to be mentioned right now. So all the people that muted this, because it was too nerdy for them, you can unmute it now because this is important for everyone.
Okay.
December 15th, 1989, one of the greatest movies of all time was released. The Wizard.
Oh. Okay.
I have such an affinity for this movie, and I just want to make mention of it right
Why?
now. I love that freaking movie. Oh my
Oh my
God, it's
God.
so good. I love it. I love it so much.
Wizard!
And I just wanted to make mention of it now, just in case we don't record next week. But fingers crossed we record next week, and I really go in detail on it. So look forward to that. That is this week in gaming history. So next is the football games. Are you ready for some football stuff?
Oh man, are we at the Super Bowl yet?
We are not, we are not at the Super Bowl yet. No,
Oh damn it.
we are at week 14 of 17 of the regular season, and then comes the playoffs, and then comes the Super Bowl. Soon.
Gotcha.
Usually Super Bowl's around the first or second week of February.
Oh right, Groundhog's Day. Gotcha.
Yeah, give or take. So without further ado, I guess it's worth mentioning. That was a fun sound. I guess it's worth mentioning.
Ah.
We did have picks for Thanksgiving week. So I'm just gonna briefly go over this. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losses. Fresco had 1, 2, 3, 4 losses, and Andy had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 losses,
Ouch.
making Fresco the winner of the three of us. Me being the winner of the duo between me and Andy here. And I want to make mention real quick. Next year, I want to do what Eric and Jesse do, and I don't care. I'm straight up taking this from them. I want to make an overall count of how many wins me and you get. So at the end of the season, we can see who reigns supreme over the entire season.
Okay.
The problem with that
Okay.
is we have to record every week.
Why you gotta put these stipulations on me?
So if we can't record every week, I can at least text you and get a list, of your picks that week.
Oh well, that's easy. Yeah, keeping continuity behind the scenes is a hell of a lot easier than maintaining it on mic.
Right. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Also, I am going against Jesse from Countdown to Geektown this week in the fantasy playoffs of our league.
Crush him.
I just wanted to say that side splitters haven't lost to him yet. I'm just throwing that out there. Jesse
Yeah,
has not.
I'm 5-8 in that league, and at least 2 of those 5 were against him.
Side splitters have not lost to Jesse. We have lost Eric, not to Jesse though. Just throwing that out there. So game 1 in week 14, we have the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going Saints. Who you got?
Saints at the Falcons. Oh man, why couldn't it be the Cardinals?
Because I think that
No,
was a couple weeks ago, wasn't it? Anyway, go ahead.
no, maybe I don't know. Okay, so going to the Falcons, I don't think because the one thing that the Falcons have an advantage of is that their nests are very high, and I've often thought to myself, man, I would love the Jehovah's Witnesses try to climb a fireman's pole just to reach my door to be able to knock on it to go through their spiel. So, I think if given the situation for that, the Saints visiting the Falcons are not going to be able to do what they need to do. So I'm going to say that the Falcons are going to successfully repel them and, keep although they probably would like watchtowers to line their cages, but I don't think it's going to work. I'm going to say the Falcons.
Okay. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers at the Cleveland Browns. Are you ready for this? I am going Browns.
Have they won a game yet?
They have not. I feel this is going to be the first.
Mm.
Josh Gordon, my man. Josh Gordon.
Okay, that doesn't mean anything to me.
He was out of the league for like 3 years because he couldn't stop smoking weed. He finally got reinstated and played his first game last week.
For the Packers or the Browns?
The Browns.
Oh. Okay. That's what happens when you give a brown a little bit of green.
Oh my god! I'm muted my mic. Go ahead, do your thing.
Okay. So if you're gonna have the Packers against the Browns, so actually, I might have to agree with you here because as any Packer will tell you, the last thing they want to see is brown.
Still muted.
So, given the possibility that Packer on the offensive against a defending Brown, the Browns are going to repel the Packers all day long. I don't see it coming out anything other than everything's coming out brown in this matchup. I'm going to give it to the Browns.
God, it has been too long. Oh, God. Next up, we have the Detroit Lions at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going Buccaneers. Who you got?
I think that out of all the animals that Buccaneers may have had to deal with, they don't really deal with large cats on a regular basis. I mean, birds, sure. The occasional bear, yeah. I mean, pirates see bears. I mean, and any kind of shark, forget about it. That's why there's not one in the league because they'll never stop the Buccaneers and the Dolphins. But I think that when dealing with a lion, it's a whole other story, and I don't think the Buccaneers are going to be ready to handle that sort of thing. So I'm going to say the Lions.
The Lions. Okay. Next up, we have the Oakland Raiders at the Kansas City Chiefs. I got mixed up on my cities for a second there. I thought they were Las Vegas ones already. Not yet. Oakland Raiders at the Kansas City Chiefs. I am going Raiders. Who do you got?
Well, I mean, most Raiders are under Chiefs anyway, so the idea that Raiders would go against the Chiefs would beat them down with experience and make them fall in line. So in this scenario, I think that while there may be rebellious of sorts, Raiders are not going to be able to overcome their bosses. I'm going to say the Chiefs.
The Chiefs. Very nice. Next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings at the Carolina Panthers. I'm going Vikings. What do you got?
Well, I mean, Vikings are notorious, not only, an offensive team, or offensive, depending on if you don't like stereotypes, but they do like to skin a lot of animals, and the panther is just another thing with very fluffy fur that could make for a nice pair of underwear. And it is getting colder, so Vikings would probably need some panther underwear. Actually, come to think of it, I wouldn't mind some panther underwear.
Who are you going with?
I'm gonna go with Vikings. I think
Vikings.
that they're gonna go some fancy duds.
All right. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers at the Houston Texans. I'm going 49ers. What you got?
Um, I don't. Okay, so my U.S. history is not as good as I'd like it to be. I can't remember how much of the gold rush in the 1800s was actually surrounding Texas. I don't want to say very much. I think that was still very much like what New Mexico is today. Um, but more Californian area, West Oklahoma. I don't know. But yeah, I'm terrible with geography too. So 49ers against Texans. I think that they're like two completely different animals. I think the Texans think that they were too snobby to be 49ers. They were too busy herding cattle or sheep or whatever the hell was going on in Texas around that time. That wasn't doing anything important with their lives. So I'm going to say that the 49ers might have advantage here.
49ers.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I thought that was my underdog pick. Well, then again, what the hell do you know? Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Buffalo Bills. I'm going Buffalo Bills. Who do you got?
Well, see that's a thing because the reason why Buffalo Bill rides tornadoes is because he could never tame a horse. And I think that having multiple horses at once, all the tornadoes in the world won't help him repress those memories of him sitting on a horse for the first time and getting the Seabiscuit treatment all over the ground. I mean, the horses stopped Superman, for goodness sake. Like, what chance does Buffalo Bill have? So I'm going to give it to the Colts.
Colts. Okay. Colts. We won't talk about the Superman joke. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears at the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going Bears. Who got?
Bears at the Bengals, huh?
Yes.
See, I can't imagine Bears doing anything because if we are in December, which is definitely hibernation season for the Bears, they are sleepwalking at this point, and the worst place they can sleepwalk into is a Bengal in treatment area. So if it was against any other animal, sure, but another predatory animal, consciousness is a hell of an advantage to have in a fight, and I'm going to say that the Bengals are going to win on that one.
The Bengals. Alrighty.
Yes.
Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants. I'm going Giants. What do you got?
Cowboys at the Giants. Well, if this season has taught me anything, I pay attention to football in general, but I do keep track of when I win and lose, and I got a lot of L's because of the Giants. So the feel for this team that I'm getting is very klutzy, very, kind of not used to their size Giants. Maybe they're off the beanstalk. I don't know. But
you don't know the half of it. Just to give you a rundown of what's happened to the Giants in like the past 2 or 3 since the last podcast we did. So their coach has been like being called out the entire year because of how terrible they're doing. And then on top of that, their general manager was also being called out. General manager is pretty much the guy that organizes the players for the team, goes and gets players from the draft, so on and so forth. So then the coach decided, the team decided to bench Eli Manning, the starting quarterback.
Okay.
And what's weird about that is he was getting ready to break the record for the most consecutive starts for a quarterback. So by benching him, they completely snapped that record. Like they shut it down. He can't no longer continue that streak. And they didn't bench him they have 2 quarterbacks behind him. One of them was a quarterback that didn't pan out so well for another team a couple years ago named Geno Smith. Another one was a very new rookie quarterback. So what everyone's thinking is, they're benching their starter because they want to get the rookie out there and see what he can do. No, they go with the washed-up guy that didn't do anything a couple years ago.
Wow.
Here's the messed up part. Surprise, surprise, he doesn't do a whole lot of anything. They lose. The next week, the coach and the general manager get fired. Now a new coach is in play. It was the defensive coach. Now he's the head coach, and he's starting Eli Manning again. So he missed 1 week, just enough to ruin his streak and make every Giants fan out there angry. So that's what the Giants are going through right now. And I'm thinking under a new coach, they just get a breath of fresh air, breath of new life, and they're going to beat the Cowboys. A big division rival. I think it can happen. But you're going Cowboys, you're telling me?
Well, I was gonna say that while I hate to promote the Cowgirls in any way, shape, or form, um, yeah, unfortunately they have enough dexterity in anything that the Giants don't in order to succeed in walking and breathing and chewing bubblegum at the same time.
Right.
So
Next
I'm gonna
up,
give it to the Cowgirls.
we have the Tennessee Titans at the Arizona Cardinals. Almost called them St. Louis Cardinals. That was fun. I'm going Titans. Who do you got?
Yeah, it's really hard for me. So, while
Are you
Cardinals,
from Ireland?
so while Cardinals are a very bright colored bird, it's hard to miss them. Titans are huge. Like if Giants are big, Titans are colossal, and they probably wouldn't even notice a little speck of red from time to time. So they would probably spend most of their time looking for the opponent and not actually finding them. And two schools of thought on this: either they're going to miss them entirely, or they're going to absolutely crush them and not even know about it. I'm betting it's probably going to be crushing them and not knowing about it. So I'm going to say the Titans are going to win.
Titans. All right. Next up, we have the New York Jets at the Denver Broncos. I'm going Jets. Who you got?
Well, between the two, Jets are definitely faster. I think that if a Bronco was trying to outrun a Jet, it's going to fail miserably. And everybody knows that a Bronco is very mad. Anger produces heat. Jets have heat-seeking missiles, so there's really not much a whole lot the Broncos can do here. I'm going to have to give the advantage to the Jets.
Jets. Next up, we have the Washington Redskins at the Los Angeles Chargers. I am going Chargers. Who do you got?
I have to disagree with you on this one because Chargers are more of an offensive team. Being on the defensive, Redskins are definitely better on the offensive than the Chargers are on the defensive. I'm gonna say the Redskins.
Well explained. Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going Jaguars. It's going to be a great game. Who do you got?
Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, Jaguars are a cat, the natural
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
the natural predator of birds everywhere.
Is it going to be a good game? Well, Jaguars are a cat.
Just to let you know.
Right.
And Seahawks, Hawks are pretty aggressive birds. I'll give you that. But Jaguars are also very large cats. So I think the Seahawks are better definitely on the defensive than on the offensive. And while the Jaguars aren't necessarily a defensive team, I don't think that the Seahawks are going to be able to muster enough raw strength to actually outperform a large, jungle cat. So I'm going to give it to the Jaguars.
Jaguars, yeah. Tell Eric that the Jaguars aren't a defensive team right now. Bastard. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles at the Los Angeles Rams. The Eagles lost their second game of the season last week against the Seahawks. So
If you asked me, I would have told you that.
Right. Well, the thing of it is, non-Andy talk here for a second. Call it, division rival being salty, but the Eagles haven't played any decent teams yet until they went against the Seahawks. You can say the Panthers maybe. Okay, so they won one game that was, worth their speed. They everyone else they played was under 500 other than the Panthers, the Chiefs, and I don't remember the third team. Maybe the Chargers? Point of the matter is, they lost to the Chiefs. They beat the Panthers, and the other 500 team was like just over 500. 500 meaning they won more than they lost. So, with that all being said, I came up with the idea they haven't played anyone decent yet. And sure enough, they go against the Seahawks, who is a decent team, and they lose. So, with that frame of mind being said, I'm going Rams because the Rams are certainly a decent team. I don't think the Eagles will beat them. Who do you got?
All right, so the other school
That's
of
all
thought
good and
that
great. Here comes the fun explanation.
No, because here's the thing though, because if living in the Philadelphia area, the majority of my life tells me anything, it's that the Eagles cannot and will not be a good team in time for a Super Bowl, and if they are, choke instantly. So we're about that time of the season where they start to go through the downturn and start looking like the team that we all know and love. We've They've had their fun. They've given some people hopes. They probably sold a couple extra 100 seats in the stadiums during these games. And, that's about all they're good for. So, as far as, the actual matchup between the two, while, excuse me, Eagles are a fairly prideful bird, and can be stubborn at times, Rams are the most stubborn animal you can ever come across. And once they're up on their mountaintop, they will refuse to get down no matter what. So you can bacaw and fly Eagles fly all you want to in front of them. They're just going to headbutt you off their damn mountain. So, I'm going to have to give it to the Rams.
Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am going Ravens. Who do you got? Other than plates clinking.
Right. So, Steelers...
Bless you.
Bless you. So, Steelers being the kind of team that, they're used to being, metal workers and stuff like that. I think that, any structure that they build is something that a Raven is not going to be able to contend with. The only reason that the Raven was even able to enter, a chamber door in the old poem for Edgar Allan Poe is because the damn fool let it in. I don't think the Steelers are going to be that stupid, no matter how many Nevermores you get out of it. So I think the Steelers are going to win that one.
Steelers. So how come when I use Edgar Allan Poe with my Ravens explanation, I'm an idiot, but when you use it, it's genius. Next up, we have the New England Patriots. Finally, the last game. New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins. I am going Patriots. What do you got?
For some reason, this country likes to just really hammer in the idea that dolphins are majestic sea creatures, even though they're terrible rapists. And we see that at SeaWorld over and over and over again. And no matter how many times that Patriots like to say that that's not the case, it's reluctantly the case. I mean, SNL did a skit about it not that long ago, where the only reason the dolphin cooperated is because he got hand jobs. So I think that given this situation, they're going to always turn a blind eye to the Dolphins' nefarious sides, and the Dolphins are going to use that to their advantage. I'm going to say the Dolphins.
Wow. Okay. This should be an interesting week. So last but not least, we have to name this episode, and we are done here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 potential names.
Oh dear Lord.
I'm gonna
okay.
I'm gonna breeze through them and just tell me what sticks out. Stiff whiffs. Iwata meth possum.
Cute.
Quasi-metho. Something with Fiddler on the Roof. Stiff brown winds. Super smashed meth mouth. And stiff Irish drink.
Ooh, I do like stiff Irish drink. What about the...
You could do Diddler on the Roof, Mether on the Roof. All 7. He doesn't want any of them.
No, because I wanted to do, like a Hunchback thing. I kind of like that. Singing, the Hunchback of Bourbon Street.
I got it. Futchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, that is great.
That'll do it for this week's edition of the Side Splitters, episode number 59, titled Futchback of Notre Dame. My name is Lyle.
Oh, and I'm incorrigibly Andy.
And hopefully, fingers crossed, we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.